We often hear the narratives that women are developing, women are empowering. But do you know what is the GDP contribution of women in India? It is just 18%. Is it fair that women consist more than 48% of the population, but they are just contributing 18% in the economy? Hello everyone, welcome to the Economy Primer series of Drishti IAS. I am Ritu and today's session is about women at work, where we will discuss the different dimensions of women workforce. So, moving to the points of discussion part. First of all, we are going to discuss that why this topic is into the discussion, and then a brief background about that, what is the history behind the women's workforce, different sector where women work, Indian context, we analyze this thing into the Indian context, and the practice question for prelims and mains. So, moving to the discussion part. So, here we have taken few cutouts from the newspaper where they are discussing about the women's contribution in different sector. Women-led startup rise at 18% in past 5 years. Report decline in women-led startups in 2023, and over 43% of women working in manufacturing sector hails from this state. IRDAI plans women-led distribution force to win over rural customers. So what all these cutouts of the newspaper says that women are contributing to every sector, not just in the manufacturing or agriculture sectors. And here we are also discussing about the rural contribution. But here we will discuss the diverse background of women work. And this cutout says that, all these topics are important for your examination and for general understanding. It's very important to understand that what is the economic contribution of women and what are the areas where women contribution is much higher. So from this point of view, this topic is important from your GS3 also, and also from your essay perspective, social justice perspective, because if you will have information and data related to this thing, your essay and your answer will become more beautiful. Moving to the next one, which is about the background, that from where this saga of women's work had started. So many persons says that it has been started from the Industrial Revolution. Many experts says that their contribution has been recognized since World War and World War II. But don't you think that this is very general statement in regard of the women, because women were working since ancient times and their economic contribution is not recognized yet, and they were recognized as a paid worker since the Industrial Revolution and since the World War I. That's why this story and the history has been traced from that thing, that women in the workforce has joined since the Industrial Revolution. But before that, women were doing the household works and other works which are not getting paid. That's why their workforce has been not designed before the 17th century. So Industrial Revolution came, and in the first phase, what we have seen that most of the families were confined to their land and they didn't go to the factories much. But things has been changed in the second phase of Industrial Revolution. The agricultural declined, the famines came to different countries, and because of that many factories opened and people started migrating to the factory sites, and there they had developed a town kind of area or city kind of area. And when you move to another place, there you need more money, there you need more things to manage your expenses, and that's where the women joined the factories, and they also started contributing economically to the family, because since one person and one man is not capable to fulfill the needs of the family, so women also joined this thing. So this is the story of Industrial Revolution, and soon from England to America it spread all over the Europe and also to the third world countries. But coming to that, why organizers and why factory workers and why factory owners had recruited women? First, that they were less argumentative than men, and second, they were more efficient than men also. They don't argue much from men, and they also take less wages from in comparison to men. So these are the attractive reasons, because women were easy to control at that time and they were also getting less wage paid. So that's why the factory owners prefers women to join their work. And many times we have seen that most of the works which are related to the care thing, which are related to the knitting, sewing, cleanliness, in such things women already had practice because they already were doing their household works. So they had a very good practice in such work. So they were influencing and they were contributing a lot to this thing. Now coming to that part, the war part, because the economic part of women in war has been recognized and it came to the picture. So in First World War, what we have seen that women contribution has been increased, and from 23.6% it has been grown to 37% to 45%. And this data I am giving you from 1914 and this data belongs to 1918. So in 4 years only we can see the jump of women's contribution to the economy from 23 to 37. It means that more than 15% they had jumped. And technically they were not directly recruited to the war, but they were helping the various war efforts, just like cooking food for the soldiers, knitting their dresses, sewing their dresses, cleaning their dresses, boot polishing, and so many other works which are related to the soldiers and which are related to the war efforts. So in that work women were contributing a lot. Similarly, in the Second World War, women had their contribution had been increased more, and they came to a different kind of picture. So they were not just assisting men to the war efforts, sometimes they had also recruited as a soldiers, and they were not just related to the household works and the working to the care industry. They had also trying to become manager, they were also factory owners also. So in that sense the varieties of women's job has been increased in the Second World War. So here we have traced the background of the women's work. So we had also know the briefly that how women joined the industries and how women joined the war. And since then we have seen that women are the part of the workforce, paid workforce, because they earlier they were part of the workforce but their work was unpaid. But nowadays women's workforce are in a paid manner, so that's why they are contributed and they are recognized as a paid workforce. So this is the brief history we have. Moving to the next slide. Next slide is about different sectors where women work. So this data has been taken from the ILO, because recently we have seen that Claudia Goldin has received the Nobel Prize in Economics, and she is also a female, and this economic sector is mostly dominated by the men, and in such thing women is getting a Nobel Prize, that too in economics. And what was her topic? So she has traced the women's workforce, different labor criteria. So for that she has received this Nobel Prize, and after that the ILO came with this states, and this is the statistics by the International Labour Organization. And what is the title? Female dominated occupation and economic activities. So here we have list of few economic activities, and we are also telling that what is the women's percentage into all these things. So here we have taken the few jobs in which women's contribution is more than 90%. So midwifery associate professional 98%, child care workers 97%, midwifery professional 96%, special needs teachers 88%, home based personal care workers 90%. So what all these data shows that in the care industries women contribution is more than 90%, and in these industries women are in majority. Domestic cleaners and helpers, we already know in India also most of them are the women. So it is 94%. Moving to the next one. So here we have taken the few data that in other sectors what is the contribution of women which is not technically a care industry or care paid job. So here farming, forestry and fishery advisors. So why we are discussing over the farming, fisheries? Because these are the sectors where most of the women works in India, but their works are not recognized. So here it is just 17%, forestry technicians 17%, because when it comes to the technical works, we can see that women's contribution is very less there. Sports coaches, instructor and official 17%. And this is the data of the whole world, not just India. Dots persons 15%, agriculture and forestry production managers 14%. So what all these things is that in terms of technician, advisors, managerial post, women's absence can be seen here, and their negligence and their negligible role can be seen here. But when it comes to the unorganized sector, their work job is 90%, 98%. So this is the women contribution to these technicians, inspector and worker kind of the job. Moving to the next one, which is that what is the female share of employment in care work. So we already had discussed the what is the overall the most dominated work, but there we have given the data of overall world. Here we have taken the few countries, and first country is Seychelles. So for example, we are just reading this thing. So total care employment 84%, and care workers in care sector 86%, domestic workers directly employed by household 78%, care workers in non-care sector 84%, non-care workers in care sector 65%. And here we'll have a data from India. So total care employment, it is 54%, care workers in care sector 54%, domestic workers 69%, care workers in non-care sector 29%, and non-care workers in care sector 43%. So what this data shows about India, that we have most of the workers are women, but their works are not recognized and their works are not monetized, and since we have not calculated their works in the GDP contribution, that's why this data is very low in terms of the India. So moving to the another slide, which is about female share of employment in STEM. So we already had discussed about the unorganized sector and managerial posts, advisory posts. Here STEM we are discussing, which is science and technology, engineering and mathematics. As it is says that women are breaking barriers in STEM sector. So here we have taken the few data. So here we have taken the data of United States. United States is regarded as so much of developed country, and there also only 52% contribution we can see the STEM in women. And coming to the other countries, Mongolia 57%, Kiribati 49%. So what all these data shows that Barbados 50%, that United States are very developed country, but Barbados, Kiribati, Mongolia, they are not much developed country, but still we can see that what is the contribution of women into this country, 49%, 50%, 54%. So they are showing a very positive trend towards this. Coming to the India's, so India's women contribution in STEM is just 27%, which is a very worrisome situation for a country. Iraq 17%, UAE 23%. So what all these data shows that, you know, here women's have a very low participation in women labor workforce, and also most of the women's are tend to the deployed by this patriarchal mindset that women can't be engineers, women can't be scientists, women cannot be mathematicians. So that's why they are discouraged to pursue such kind of the STEM programs, and that's why we can see that only 27% is contributed by women in STEM. So all these things are valuable for when you have to empower women in the STEM. Moving to the next one, which is a female share of employment in management. So when it comes to the managerial position, the women contribution is very less. So when it comes to the child care service manager, so in child care work, most of the care industries are occupied by the women, but when it comes to the managerial position, their numbers and their contribution is less, but still it has a good picture, which is 89%, aged care services 78%, health services 70%, social welfare managers 63%, education managers 59%, and finance managers 47%, business services 47%, advertising and public relation managers 51%. So what all these data shows that when it comes to the care industries, women contribution can be 89%, 78%, and when it's related to health and education, still we have some promising figure. But when it comes to the finance managers, business models, we have a very worrisome situation. It's just like 47%, 47%. So traditionally, and it has been become a stereotype that health sector where most of the nursing professional works, care industry just like caring for the elderly population, rearing children. So these have become the stereotype job for the women where most of the women are employed here. Moving on. So in Indian context, we will study that what is the women's contribution in India's workforce. So at present, there are 432 million women of working age in India, and among them 343 millions are employed in unorganized sector. So most of the women in India are working in unorganized sectors, and according to a report by McKinsey Global Institute, which has estimated that if women are given the equal opportunity in our country, then the country could add $770 billion to its GDP. But still our contribution is just 18% right now. So how it can be increased? So when women were given the equal opportunity in their work, and in rural India also, due to some government schemes, we can see that women were given the supervisory roles and managerial roles, and their workforce has been increased. And few schemes are National Rural Livelihood Mission, Swachh Bharat Mission, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Because of all these sectors, women workforce in rural India has been increased. And today India is the third largest ecosystem in terms of startups in the world, and third in the unicorn community, but only 10% share is occupied by the women. So this is the also a grim pictures, because we have become the third largest startup country and third largest unicorn country, but women contribution and women founders are just 10%, which is very less. And since pandemic, we have seen that the work labor force has been divided, and a huge decline in women workforce can be noticed because of the pandemic. Most of the unorganized work has been lost, and it has been declined by 4.3%. So it's the time that women should provided opportunity and the gap should be fulfilled. So this is the economic scenario of India. Moving on, which is the practice question for prelims. Consider the following statement regarding Mahila 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬𝐧𝐥𝐶. And your first statement is, women entrepreneurs can get a subsidy of up to 55% of the cost of equipments. And the second statement is, the scheme is available to the women 25 years of the age. Here they are asking the correct statement, so kindly comment in the comment section. Moving on to the mains question. So through mains question, we'll analyze that what are the challenges we have and what opportunities we can provide to our women. So India is improving as an economy, but the participation of women is still a matter of concern. Analyze. So as you already know that India has become the 5th largest economy of the world, and it is also expected that by 2025 maybe India will become 3rd largest economy of the world. But what is this positive trend tells about in terms of the women? So these positive trends are not in positive way in terms of the women, because their contribution is not recognized. So first we need to find out that what are the challenges we have. So first you have to give the background of the women workforce, that most of the women works in unorganized sector. Then you have to find out that what are the challenges we have in the women in workforce. First challenge is patriarchal mindset. The second is family duty. Third is less awareness, less education. Less training. So these are the challenges we have in terms of the women. Coming to that, how it can be improved. So first you have to give 3 R's formula. And what is this 3 R's formula? First is recognizing, reducing, redistributing. So all these 3 R's are applicable to which sector? So mostly it is for the unpaid care work or unpaid domestic works. Because first of all, if any woman is cleaning the utensils in their households, or if any woman is washing the clothes in her household, these all works are not recognized. And because since they are not monetized, so that's why they are not recognized. So we need to recognize their contribution at home and then reduce. So most of the household works are done by the women, so we need to reduce the burden from them. So if they will be free and reduced burden from their household works, so they can contribute to the other sector and they can also work outside, and then redistribute also. So redistribution is another form of to reduce their burden, because if we have 10 sets of work at the households, and if it will be distributed among 2-3 persons or 4 person, and whatever the members available at their particular household, it will have a great impact on the women's part and their health also, and so that their mind and their body will be free to do other kind of the job. So this would be the way forward approach. On the other hand, government of India had also come with the various women led schemes. So we need to promote awareness among women that these schemes has been designed for you. You can take loan from these scheme and you can run your own startups. And also we have to provide training to the women. Most of the women know how to cook, how to clean clothes, but they have not given a proper training that which sector or which industry require which kind of the work. So we need to give a proper training, and if they will be the trained, their skills will be the monetized. So that's it for today's session. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to the session, kindly ask in the comment section. Thank you.